We're live now.
Hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Sam. So today we are honored to have with us renowned environmentalist Ms. Sunita Narain ji. She's a Director General of the Center for Science and Environment. In today's session, we'll be have a compelling conversation on the urgent need to rejuvenate India's rivers. That those are our lifelines of our country, and currently they are rapidly deteriorating due to pollution and overuse and neglect. Together with Sam sir and Sunita ji, we'll be exploring systematic challenges, the roles of our communities and government, and also different solutions that are required to restore the health of our rivers. So, without further ado, I would request Sam sir to welcome our guest and address the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, Premvada. Thank you, Upendra. Sunita, welcome to this conversation. I have had the privilege to know Sunita for over 3 or 4 decades. She has been very active, prominent, not just in India, but globally on environmental issues. I got to know her in Rajiv Gandhi era. A friend of ours, Anil Agarwal, was championing environmental issues then, and Rajiv Gandhi was very fond of him. I remember Anil giving a presentation to Rajiv on environmental issues then, 40 years ago. And unfortunately, we lost him early, and Sunita took over the institute. She has been not only just active in environment as we understand, but also has been active on many other issues during Manmohan Singh government. She wrote a very good report on tigers. I remember her report, and I remember her presenting it to Manmohan Singh. She and I also got to work on environmental portal as part of the National Knowledge Commission and innovation activities. And she championed that single-handedly and brought together many organizations to work on a common platform. On one hand, millions of people look at her initiatives, activities, accomplishments, and on the other hand, our rivers still don't get the attention our rivers deserve. We have challenges not only with our rivers, but with our ponds, with our water, with our air, and the environmental issues are really daunting. She has devoted her entire life to this. So I'm delighted that she readily agreed to have a conversation with us. I look forward to learning from her. And I think one of the issues on the table today that we are going to discuss is of great, great interest to all of us. It is not about cleaning Ganga or cleaning Yamuna. It is about cleaning our rivers and our water and our environment and our air. So with this little background, Sunita, welcome to this group. We meet every week. We try to meet every week. Once in a while, I get too busy with other things and we sort of skip a week here or there. But the credit goes to Priyambada and Upendra. Both do all the background work. I just show up on time. And I know what it takes to put together something like this. So thank you, both of you. Upendra is always in the background, but he gets everything done on time. And thank you, Upendra. Here we are, Sunita. Welcome, please.
Thank you, Sam. And again, it's a privilege to be with you. Your and Anil's relationship is always my fondest memories, and I think it is really it's a tribute to him that we should continue to do our work and continue to bring new knowledge to the table. I mean, what we have learned, and I will share with you, Sam, and all the colleagues who are on the call today, including Priyambata, Upendra, and everyone else, is that our journey in environment over these years has been that we are learning that we need to bring new knowledge and new methods to cleaning our rivers, cleaning our air, cleaning our environment. And for too long, we have done too much, but we have done it not with inventive imagination that it takes. And I'd like to share some of our learnings with all of you, because this is not about governments not acting. It's about really, and I am particularly saying it because there are a number of young people on the call today, it's about the courage to think differently. The problem is not governments. The problem is the engineering, scientific temperament that we have built up over the years, where we only think the conventional ways. So this is really what we have to break if we want to clean our rivers. So Upendra, can you start my presentation, please?
Great.
So as I said, I'm going to talk about Yamuna, but I'm not just going to talk about Yamuna. I'm going to use that and as an example to what we have learned needs to be done to clean our rivers today. So if you look at Yamuna, and I'm particularly, it's important because I come from Delhi, and I think for anyone who lives in Delhi, it's a national shame that a river in its entire life, 22-kilometer stretch of Yamuna in Delhi, which is only 2% of the total length of the river basin, contributes 80% of the pollution load. It's important for us to clean it up. It's important for us to look at Yamuna as an example to what's going wrong as we continue our journey to clean all rivers in the country. The good news is that Yamuna is high on the government agenda. When the elections were held, the Delhi elections were held, and it's often said that many of the issues that we care about don't make it to the polls. But this time, when the post-election polls were held, and people checked, why did people vote the last government out? The cleaning of Yamuna, the cleaning of Delhi's air, and garbage were three top issues that concerned the people of Delhi. So this is important because governments will act as they know that this is high on the political agenda. But as governments act, it's important to also understand that it's not a new problem. It isn't as if we've suddenly woken up and now we need to clean the Yamuna. Many governments, all previous governments have put Yamuna on the agenda, and this is true about all rivers of the country. The highest court of the country, Supreme Court, the High Court, and now the NGT, the National Green Tribunal, all have regular hearings on the cleaning of our rivers. In the case of Yamuna, many committees have reviewed the plan and massive investment has been made. If you just look at the numbers that are in front of you, 687 crores was spent in just 4 years of 2017 to 2022. And, it's difficult to put these numbers together for the past and now, but this number has been put forward by the government itself. Now, if you look at this 6,857 crore has been spent on just a 22-kilometer stretch. So just imagine the scale of the investment, and yet the river is polluted. There is an action plan for Yamuna, and as most action plans for our rivers, the elements of the plan are to build sewage treatment plants so that domestic wastewater is intercepted, improve the quality of treatment so that STPs discharge clean treated water, build interceptor sewers, lay sewage pipelines and unauthorized colonies, treat industrial effluents. So the reason I'm laying this out is that I want you to understand it isn't lack of government action. It isn't a lack of planning, because it's often said, oh, there is no plan. There is a plan. There is investment. Governments have acted. Sam will remember the first Ganga action plan started during Rajiv Gandhi's time, way back in the mid-80s. So it isn't as if the government of India has not cared about the state of our rivers. It isn't as if any government in Delhi or the central government has not cared about Yamuna. And yet, if you look at Yamuna, Delhi today has the capacity to treat 100% of the wastewater it generates. And data shows from the government that it will actually improve this so that it has 103% capacity to treat the sewage. So technically, we have done it. There is no reason why our river should be polluted if we have built all this infrastructure. And yet, there is no visible improvement in river quality. When Yamuna enters Delhi, it is alive. Now, when I say the word alive, it's an emotive word. And so people say to me, you're using, it's a scientific word. The fact is, when a water body is alive, it has dissolved oxygen at a certain level. The standard is set at 5. If you look at Palla, where Yamuna enters Delhi, it meets the standard. But by the time it reaches the first monitoring station at ISBT, which is the interstate bus terminal, the river has a dissolved oxygen level of 0, which means that it is dead. I often say this, and I will repeat it here, that the river is dead. It just hasn't been officially cremated. Now, that's a shame for us in the city of Delhi. The fact also is, and this is really important for us to understand as we move forward, and this map, this chart I can do for river after river, it'll show you that in spite of all the investment, the trend, the yearly trend does not show visible improvement in the levels of pollution. So the question is, and I think that's really at the heart of what we need to discuss, is why is this happening? Why is it happening, and what do we need to do to reset, reprioritize the agenda for Yamuna and all rivers of India? Firstly, let's accept that we do not know how much wastewater is generated. Now, when you look at wastewater generation, it's a simple maths. What is calculated is 80% of the total water that is supplied to a city is calculated as the quantum of wastewater that is generated. Some years ago, I did a 2-volume report called Excreta Matters, where we explained that how this calculation is extremely flawed, because it has 2 numbers that are critical. One, we need to know how many people live in the city. And 2, we need to know how much water has actually been supplied. Now, the problem is that we don't have a census. Our last census was 2011. At that time, the city of Delhi said we had about 17.6 million people. It's projected to be 26 million people, but we don't know. And so the calculation, which is the basis of estimating the wastewater, has to know the number of people, because it is based on the number of people and 185 liters per capita per day that you get the total water supply. And 80% of that is estimated to be waste water. Now, if you don't know the population, you get the water supply wrong, and therefore you get the wastewater wrong. The other problem is that we know that in most of our cities, and this is a paradigm that we have inherited from the rest of the world, we bring our water long and long distances. The longer the pipeline, the higher the leakage. So 40 to 60% is lost in distribution. So even if you calculate the water supply based on the population, you don't really know how much water is supplied and how much people then depend on other sources like groundwater and tankers and everything else. And this is when we know that millions in our cities live in what is called unauthorized areas. Today, if you come to our cities, you will find that there are peripheries of our cities where large numbers of people live, and their water supply, their sewage is never estimated. Now, the good thing is, and this is the good news, is that cities do not consume water. They use and they discharge it. Our rivers are degraded, what I call hydrocide, and we are literally losing our rivers so they become drains. I keep saying this generation, my generation, is going to be known as having lost the most precious gift of nature, which is rivers. I don't know how many of you know the city of Ludhiana. The city of Ludhiana has something called Buddha Nala. Buddha Nala is become a Nala, though it was a fresh water river. Mithi in Mumbai is officially called a drain, though it was a fresh water river. In Delhi, we have Najafgarh, which is today Delhi's biggest drain. And yet, just about 50 years ago, it was called the Sahibi River, which was a river which came out of the Aravlis and flew into the river, Yamuna. So you can just understand how we are losing our rivers, which then, of course, this water pollution adds to health burden and economic costs. But the fact is, what we have learned today is that you cannot clean rivers using the conventional hardware, the conventional systems of building STPs and connecting them to underground sewerage systems. This is not our reality. And this is why our river action plans are failing in spite of the investment, because we are treating our rivers as the same as Thames or Hudson or any other river cleaning program, where already you had sewerage networks which needed to be intercepted and then water cleaned to be brought to the river. That is not our reality. In fact, CSC has been doing something very interesting. We have been doing city after city what we call shit flow diagrams. And when we mapped the excreta flow in our cities, we found the majority were not connected to official sewerage systems. They have what is called an on-site treatment, which means a septic tank or just a tank or a toilet which is connected to a drain. But the river cleaning programs are designed to intercept sewage from underground connected households. So when I flush, I forget. But my flush is connected to an underground sewage, which then is supposed to take the sewage to a treatment plant. But millions of households live in what is called an non-sewered systems, where excreta is collected and dumped in the same waterways. They use septage transport systems to take out the septic, empty the septic tank, and then it is dumped. And as a result of it, what we are finding is that you are in a scenario where treated sewage of the minority gets mixed with the untreated sewage of the majority. And that is the cause of pollution. So I've always argued, and I constantly argue, that unless you have inclusive growth, affordable growth, you can never have sustainable growth. When you look at the excreta maps of India and you look at the pollution of our rivers, you understand that unless you can intercept the sewage of the poorest households, you will never be able to clean your rivers. And that is a very important lesson that we have learned. So if you look at this, you look at the shit flow diagram for Delhi, you will see that Delhi actually has a larger share, about 68%, which is on off-site systems. When I say off-site, it means connected to underground sewage, which is intercepted and taken to a treatment plant. But still, a large bulk is what is on-site systems, which are not connected to underground sewage. Now, here sewage is collected, but by septage desludging tankers. The same tankers take it and pump it into official drains or directly into the river. If you look at the shit flow diagram for UP, the state through which the bulk of Ganga flows, just look at the green. The green is what is seen as the on-site, off-site system, which is intercepted and treated. The bulk of this is in red, which means the bulk of the people live in what is called an on-site system. Now, you could argue, which a lot of people have argued with me in the past, not anymore in India, but they've argued, but madam, this is all about history. We will build our underground sewage and all this will go away. We will modernize our cities. My argument has been, let's build on our reality. The fact is, let's agree that majority of our cities are unsewered. And as I said, our shit flow diagram showed the majority use on-site systems. Now, if you can reimagine this and say that this is my reality and this will be my part of my future, then instead of building underground sewage, which actually never gets completed and is extremely expensive, and it's impossible to retrofit in already built settlements, the objective would be to transport the excreta from households in trucks, which is already done, but to regulate this. Put a GPS on the tanker, making sure that the tanker, which is desludged septic tanks, takes it to treatment plants, and then most importantly, design it for reuse. This way, the reality that we have actually becomes our opportunity. Now, the good thing is that the government of India has understood this and has accepted this. And the SPM 2.0 guidelines that were issued in 2021 made a huge paradigm shift, where they actually have said that we are not interested in you building sewage treatment plants. We are interested in how much of the sewage, the septage, is treated and not discharged into the environment. So now cities are actually moving ahead with pace. If you look at some such states, Odisha has been an absolute front runner in this, where the last government under Mr. Patnaik did incredible work to turn the entire state, saying that instead of building sewage treatment plants and underground sewage, we will build on our reality. And the state has shown that it can actually clean its rivers in a matter of 4 to 5 years in doing this. The speed is amazing. UP is doing it now, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Madhya Pradesh, not enough, but the idea is there. And we need to now capture this so that we can scale it up. The fact is, the scale is possible here, and the speed is possible, because instead of building those underground sewage, you can actually take it and move it to your cleaning points, your in trucks, tankers, and take it for treatment. The agenda is actually changed for river cleaning today. So the issue today is how to do optimum capacity utilization. How do you make sure the plants are effective in treatment? How do you make sure you design it for reuse? How do you make sure that the biosolid, the sludge, is designed for reuse? How do you make sure that you can focus on your lakes and ponds as recharge grounds? So it's a totally different imagination and approach for river cleaning. CSE has been doing these reports. We did this report on the maintenance of sewage treatment plants, on septage management. The most interesting thing is that we have a laboratory, so we can test the inlet and the outlet. And we have been testing different technologies and learning how best we can use this for reuse. And the point now is, and the focus has to be, to reuse the water and to reuse the sludge. I'm going to wait for Sam to get off his phone to tell him this, because this is particularly for Sam. Sam, I need you for a minute on this. Sam, I need you for a minute on this.
I'm here.
So you are the man who brought the mobile technologies to India, okay? 20 years ago, we were building landlines to connect people with phone. I'm old enough to tell everybody that when CSE was set up, I actually had to go to the OSD and the Planning Commission and get phone lines cleared. Today, we go through satellites. We have mobile phones. Today, we are building, 10 years ago, the world was building energy grids to connect people with electricity. Today, we are looking at decentralized electricity. So the question that we are asking, and that's the imagination that we need, is that can we jump, skip, leapfrog the landline grid route in sanitation? So why do we need to make underground sanitation, underground sewage systems? Why can we not take this sewage and take it and clean it up? The issue really is, how do you clean it up? How do you reuse your sludge? How do you reuse your sewage, treated water? And this then becomes the big agenda. If you look at Yamuna, this is the city of Delhi. For many of you who may not have visited, this is the river. These are all the treatment plants, but these are also all the nalas that meet the river. Now, as many of the treatment plants, and we've mapped this for most cities of India, as many of the treatment plants are not located near the river, the waste there gets treated and put into the same drain. And as a result of it, as I said, you mix the treated effluent of the minority who are connected to underground sewage, flush toilets, with the majority which are not connected. And the end result is pollution. And we also have massive numbers of tankers which are dumping into this. So what our agenda to the government is, do not mix treated and untreated in the drain. What do you do with the treated effluent? You then design it for reuse. You design it so that you make sure that all treated water, as I said, cities do not consume water. We use it, we discharge it. So can we use treated sewage, treated sludge, so that we can put it back on the land? Now, this is the scientific agenda as we move forward, because today the entire standards are built, the entire system is built so that we take treated water and we take it and put it into the river. The nitrogen cycle is broken. So if we can actually design our standards for land-based discharge, we don't first remove the nitrogen and phosphorus and spend huge amount of money in removing it, and then put it back into the land as artificial nitrogen and phosphorus. You're really looking at how you can have a circular economy where we eat the food, we take the nitrogen and phosphorus in the food from the land, we discharge it in our excreta. Can we not put it back on land? So that's the repair of the nitrogen cycle that is absolutely crucial. As I said, Sam, we have a laboratory, so we test a lot of this to help governments to look at what could be done. And essentially, we are finding all this is very nitrogen-rich sludge. And this becomes an amazing opportunity for becoming a soil replenishment agent. But our standards are not designed like that, because our standards are still designed to make sure that excreta is put away in water after treatment. So we have to make sure that we have new science to solve many of these issues as we move ahead. We recently did this report where we looked at what would be the best way to do safe reuse of treated water. And essentially what comes out very clearly is you need to design your systems for this. My last two slides are as follows. So one, Let's reset the agenda for Yamuna and all rivers of the country. Instead of only focusing on infrastructure, on building STPs, on building underground sewage, the objective should be to ensure that wastewater of all households is treated. 100% interception in drains or tankers. And that means looking at our reality where the majority of Indians live on what I said was an on-site system. Accept the reality, build on it, and take it forward, rather than only thinking that we are going to change that so that everybody is connected with an underground system. Secondly, make a plan so that treated water is focused on reuse. Focus on recycling and reuse, develop standards to reuse this on land, and only if treated wastewater is discharged directly into the river, then the standards need to be to near drinking water. So that's really what the focus is. And at the end, just to raise the issue and to leave you with some thoughts, because the big question for us really is now climate change. Climate change will bring us more rain in fewer number of rainy days, which means that our paradigm shift needs to be both for water supply and for wastewater. And what we are arguing is that water supply needs to be more affordable by increased dependence on local water sources, rainwater harvesting, recharged groundwater through the sponges of our cities. Bangalore should not be drowning in rain and the rich of Bangalore taking boats to get from one place to another if it could repair and reuse the lake systems of the city. Secondly, wastewater has to be more affordable. Management of wastewater by interception and treatment designed for all. And wastewater has to be replenished for reuse. So extreme rain events will be mitigated because of these sponges, and we will have more water available for scarcity. Treated wastewater will be used for recharge in local water bodies, ponds, and tanks, and treated biosolids will be used for nutrients in our soils. At the end, let's remember this one slogan that we all live downstream. What we do to our downstream, our upstream will do to us. Remember the city and the red dot of Delhi. We are downstream of Haryana. And what we do to Mathura and Agra, which is downstream of us, very soon Haryana will do to us. So every city, every person must remember that we all live downstream. And that really is the message as we clean up our rivers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunita. Thank you very much. I think there is a larger issue that you have raised, and that's about decentralization. I can tell you from my own journey in telecom, it took us 115 years to get to 1 billion telephones because the architecture was centralized. You had big switching systems, 100,000 lines of telephone facilities came into these exchanges, and people were rewarded like Bell Labs for building bigger and bigger switching systems. Then came mobile telephony, distributed architecture, cell, base unit. Each cell can handle 2,000, 5,000 phones. And all of a sudden, in 25 years, we added 8 billion phones.
Interesting.
If we had followed the earlier pattern of centralization, it would take us 700 years. So there are lessons to learn from decentralization.
Yes.
Power distribution is centralized.
Yes.
So you have losses of 40, 50, 60, 80% in distribution system. So power should be decentralized. So everything we do today has to have decentralized architecture.
Yes.
But all the power brokers want centralized architecture. Governments want centralized, uniform architecture, and it is antithesis to communications technology. Communication says we need more collaboration, cooperation, co-creation, networking, and not command and control. So centralized systems are okay for command and control. They are not okay for collaboration, cooperation, co-creation. So there is a fundamental issue here,
Yeah.
is how you see the future. All of the authoritarian regimes see centralized system top down as the answer. All the others see bottom up decentralized as the answer. And this debate is going on in a big way globally. So it is ultimately about democracy. It is ultimately about decentralization, empowering people. And that's what you're talking about. So thank you for bringing this into focus. I'm sure our people have lots of questions. And if you believe this problem can be sorted out in 5 years, that's pretty ambitious. I think then the nation should really devote maximum resources to clean our rivers and ponds. Whenever I go through Indian villages, I see these dirty ponds. And growing up as a little kid in villages, ponds were the lifeline of the village.
Yes.
Water was clean. We used to, bath in those ponds. Today, you can't do that. So this is a national emergency. And I'm glad that you have taken on this as the challenge. And I hope we can have a good conversation on it. Priyamvada,
Yes.
Upendra, you can coordinate for questions and answers and comments. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you both. So I'll take on the question. First is from Upendra. He's asking, cleaning rivers is as much as a behavioral challenge than a technical one. So how can environmental literacy and civic responsibility be instilled at a scale to build a river conscious society?
Very good question, Upendra. I think the fact is behavioral change happens when society understands the deterrence that there is also for doing something wrong. I mean, we keep hearing, oh, when Indians go abroad, they're very clean, they don't litter. It's also because of the deterrence that is there. It is education, but it's also the fact that there is a deterrence and there is an alternate way out. Today, as I said, it isn't as if the poor of India don't understand the value of water. It isn't as if governments don't understand the value of our rivers. So I think the problem is a little more than just chest beating about the state of our rivers and behavior. It's really about learning that we need a new method. And I only have one major change is that only difference is that it's a lot to do with the technical mindset that we have, the technocentric mindset that we have. So it transcends governments. It's not about the government. It's about the technical infrastructure that we have built. And that is why you are so important, because we need to challenge that. There is too much. It's not, we often blame this in governments and say, oh, governments don't think, but it isn't about governments. I can tell you it's about the water engineers who are sitting in every department who really believe that this is not going to work because they have only understood one thing: build underground sewage, connect it to an STP, clean the water and put it in the river. That's the only way that they understand. Of course, there is money involved with it. Of course, there is hardware involved with it. But the hardware is also about the way we think. And I think that's really my biggest resistance that I found in my life, is from the technical, scientific institutions which are not willing to think out of the box.
No, absolutely, ma'am. And I was like, calling out both. Basically, it's technical, but it's also
Yeah.
behavior. And on the
Like,
same lines, I'm just looking forward to your thoughts on, like, is there an opportunity to integrate like something like community-led models into the mainstream water policy, right? And is it gonna something like that you think may help the cause?
so Government of India has that, and I think the most interesting model that exists in India, which was started by the UPA government and it continues till date today, is Manrega. So under Manrega, you have this massive program for building decentralized water structures across the length and breadth of the country. And it is a fascinating approach where you're really investing the labor of people and providing them a base for survival. But you're doing that to invest into ecological infrastructure. And our own reporting and research on this has found that wherever those community water harvesting structures have been built and communities have taken the initiative to build them and repair them and manage them, you have changed the future of the village. You literally have reverse migration happening. If you look at the cover story we did in Down to Earth just about a year ago, my colleagues traveled through Rajasthan, and they were amazed to see how people were using both the Manrega money and their own labor to harvest every drop of rainwater. And I think that amazing effort that is happening across the length and breadth of India is something that keeps us going. And remember, with climate change, water will be the biggest issue because we will get more rain in fewer number of rainy days. So our ability to harvest every drop of water, to recharge the groundwater, and to use that for livelihood security will become critical. And I see that happening across the country. And I think it's something that we all have to recognize and actually stand behind and see what can be done to scale it up further.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. So next question is from Jagdish Kumar. He's asking, is the population has increased like many folds? So do you think that's the main reason for our rivers getting polluted? Because where will the wastewater go? Is this question.
So Jagdish, population has always become a very easy bogey to say, population. I'm not denying that we need to control population, but as you and I know, the only way to control population is through female literacy and women empowerment. That's the only way. Otherwise, you are basically looking at birth control, which the state does. And and if you look at India today, we are, other than 3 states of India, and please understand these numbers, other than 3 states of India, all states of India are today near replacement level as far as fertility levels are concerned, and in fact below. So states like Kerala are way below. So population growth is important, but as I argue, it's not population growth as much as our ability to be able to learn new science and ways of being able to manage the excreta of all and turn it into a resource. And if you look at the population issues, the poor of India actually still use little water. It's the rich of India, the middle classes of India who use more water, generate more wastewater. So you could argue that, as always it is said, if all Indians lived the lifestyle of an American, we would need many, many planets. So clearly, that does not mean population is not important, but population control or population, if we want population to be reduced, then you have to invest in the education of women and bring up poverty levels so that people are not poor.
Absolutely, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question. 3,400 crores was spent on the Clean Ganga project, and still they are doing it. But we saw the Kumbh Mela, and we saw reports of E. coli in the water, which were harmful, and people, are doing it for religious purposes. So, where do you think are we lacking? Like, why don't we just ape the West, like where they have clean rivers, like the Seine or the Seine in France, or the Thames in the UK? So why don't we just model ourselves, like, or is it the intent of the government or the people where we are lacking? What do you think?
As I explained in my presentation, it's not the intent of government, it's not the intent of people. It is really the method that we will choose to clean our rivers. If you take Kumbh Mela, an incredible exercise, just look at the millions who went to take a bath in the river. I mean, incredible. And the fact is, the government had done a lot to clean the river, to make sure that the sewage and the garbage did not contaminate the river. So it is possible to do. And it is possible to make sure that we can move ahead with those approaches. But as I said, my biggest issue today is we have to understand that we will not be able to clean our rivers using the conventional thinking and management. The cleaning of Seine River in Paris, I mean, actually, it's not very clean, okay, as we found out when the Olympics were happening, or today the Thames or Hudson. These are all these are not success stories that we can emulate. These are cases which are actually resource inefficient, highly wasteful approaches of cleaning your river, where you're subsidizing the rich of the city to literally defecate in convenience. Okay? These are not approaches for us. And I think that's the bottom line of what I'm saying, is that we keep looking and saying, oh, but Paris has such a clean river, so why can't ours be? And then we do everything wrong that Paris has done. And they keep doing it because they have the money, they have the investment, they can keep putting in the money to be able to upgrade their sewage treatment plants. We can't. So the bottom line of what I'm saying to you is think with imagination, think with courage. The kind of thing Sam did when he brought in such a new system into India. I mean, at that time, none of us even knew it was possible. It was a dream, but it happened. But it took courage. And that's what I'm arguing for, not just in India, but across Africa, across the global south. We need the courage to walk a different route to manage our environment. We cannot do it if we lack that imagination.
So, so basically we are saying that the sewage which is underground there should be some other way of, discarding the sewage. Like, it shouldn't be in the ground. That's what you're saying. Like, that's the reason it pollutes the rivers, right?
Let me explain this, Premvata. So where do you live?
I live like in Mumbai, but right now I'm
excellent. Excellent. Let me explain Mumbai to you. Okay. So a small part of Mumbai is connected to an underground sewage network. Okay. So if you live in, say, Cuff Parade, or you live in some of these other places, you will flush. And then, of course, you've forgotten where your sewage has gone. Okay. That sewage goes into an underground sewage network. In Mumbai's case, it's pumped in now deep. They have built a pipeline into the sea. Okay. And the hope that they can now circulate the sewage and it will go away. Otherwise, it goes into some sewage treatment plants, but not a lot. But the bulk of Mumbai is not connected to underground sewage. Now, their sewage goes through tankers or through septic tanks or through drains, goes into the same nalas, which then meet the sea. Now, Mumbai has an advantage that the sea is your dumping ground. And you don't have to worry, because beyond a point, the sea takes it away, though there is enough talks about pollution of the sea water as well. I am not so fortunate. I live in Delhi and I have only one river called the Yamuna, which has literally become, we did a report some years ago, Priyamvada, we called it the sewage canal of India. And we said it's not the Suez Canal, it's the sewage canal, because all our 22 drains meet the river and that take the sewage to it. So what we are saying is the underground sewage network takes a lot of money and effort to build. And as Sam was explaining, these are centralized systems where you take the sewage underground to one treatment plant, treat it, and then take it across and many, many kilometers and take it to the river, treated water. What you would need to do now is, if you came to our office, you would see we actually treat our sewage on site. So we have a baffled reactor, we have a polishing pond, and we can take our excreta and we can clean it on site. Now, you could do that at institution level, you could do that at city level, you could do that through through many, many different technologies coming into play. But the bottom line, Priyamvada, and the question that you're asking is, the real bottom line is, think about an affordable system. Because if the system is not affordable, it will never meet the needs of all. And if it does not meet the needs of all, it will not be sustainable. So if you approach it from that point of view, you will start looking at what can I do to cut the cost of my sewage management? What can I do to cut the cost of my water supply? And that's where you start looking at local treatment, local resource reutilization. Do I make some sense?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
there is question from Josefa. He's one of our colleagues. So he's asking, the climate chaos hurdle seems unsurmountable without the rich nations redefining their quality of life privileges. So how can India champion a proactive role in addressing these these issues?
Very, very good question. And thank you so much for asking that. It is absolutely critical. And as you're seeing now, in the world today, there is such a green lash. Countries are reversing their strategies for climate change. And this is coming at a time when the world needs to act. I would encourage all of you to go to our website, downtoearth.org.in, and take a look at a report we do called the Extreme Weather Events in India. We take all the meteorological data put out by the Met Department, we compile it to bring you a picture of what is happening. And what is frightening is that we are talking about one extreme weather event a day in India. Almost one a day. Too cold, too hot, too much rain. It's impacting the lives of the poorest. And this is the cause across the world today of that double whammy that is happening. We are at one level, we are not doing development right. But on the other level, the poor are getting poorer because of these extreme weather events that are happening. So when you hear about migration and you hear about all the talk in the world about how migration is such a hot potato, you have to start connecting the dots to this. Now, in spite of all this, we are seeing such a green lash in the world. We are seeing a reversal where governments are saying it's too expensive for them to do it. And the rich governments are saying that they cannot afford it anymore, that their cost of energy is high and therefore they cannot do renewable energy. This is an absolutely unacceptable situation. Now, I think it's important for countries like India to be the voice of the South, to keep raising these issues, to make sure that the voice of the most powerless of the world, the victims of climate change, are brought to the global stage so that we understand that these are connected lives. We need to put a human face on climate change. And I believe the government of India is doing that and must do more of it. But for us, the action that we need to take in India is a co-benefit approach, as I keep saying. We don't act because of climate change. We have to clean our rivers because we have to clean our rivers. The cost of health is too high for us. The cost of inaction is too high for us. And that's the real driver for us to act. But that does not mean that the rich industrialized world, which has already appropriated the carbon budget, does not need to act. They need to act, and fast.
Absolutely, ma'am. So do you think there's a question, another from Josefa himself again. He's asking whether AI could be used for this, biotechnology with the current AI in all over the world. Also, he's asking, like decentralization wastewater treatment requires less centralized network of sewage treatment plants. So, how is it like feasible? Can you remodel this development approach?
Yeah, absolutely, Jose. Let me take this question because this is what I know. Absolutely, it can be done and is being done. And I would encourage you to come and see some states of India where they are beginning to practice this at scale. See, our advantage, Jose, is that we have not built our sewage treatment plants. We have not built our infrastructure. Our big advantage today is that we can reinvent. We have a huge opportunity. We have not built all the houses. So we can build our houses with thermal comfort today. We have not built our cities. So we can build our cities for moving people, not cars. We have not built our sewage infrastructure. So we can build a decentralized network. We have not built our energy system. So we have the opportunity to do it differently. And I think that's what we need to reuse. That's what we need to use as the opportunity, the big options that we have. As far as AI is concerned, Jose, not an area I know anything about. I will leave it to you and your generation to figure out what this world is going to be with this new artificial intelligence.
Sir, you want to speak something about, the new technology, like how can we use IT for... So I think you're mute, sir.
Thank you, Priyambada. No, AI is a tool. If we are going to study, for example, drought and flood, water flow, volume, AI would be very useful because it will do a lot of your analysis instantly. But AI is not going to give you more water because AI will be more for productivity, efficiency, cost reduction. AI is going to be useful everywhere. It's going to be useful in education, health, water management, sure. But it's a tool. So let's recognize that like any other tool, computer became a tool for water management. So AI will be another interesting tool. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely. There are very positive comments about today's show. So Imamul is saying that it's great to hear two of the stalwarts on this topic, and many of them have given thumbs up. Also, ma'am, they would like to know the website address once again. Some people have requested in the comments.
Should I write it down on the comments and then down to earth.org.in?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So yeah, I will. Sorry, sir, you are on mute again. Yeah.
No, I was saying just Google Sunita Narain
Yeah,
and you will know it. Or even Google India's environmental portal or CSE and you'll find it. It's not very difficult. Okay.
Yes, sir. So how I remember, ma'am, is from a famous like press conference about Coca-Cola. You know how the water is not good,
She's a
different in
fighter.
India. Yeah.
She's a fighter.
So yeah, we know from you, like we had
And
seen that.
about tiger, I think tiger study is interesting. Can you comment a little bit about that? Because I'm very fascinated, with tiger study.
So
And then
again,
we
Sam,
close.
it was a great opportunity that Dr. Manmohan Singh gave me, and I used it to explain that, you can't do tiger conservation in the Western approach of shutting off people from the habitats of tigers. In India, the habitats of people and tigers are the same. We need to share the benefits of tiger conservation with the local communities. We need to build a common future for tigers and people. And that was an interesting study. I don't think we've followed through enough on it because, again, Sam, you have dealt with this all your life. So I feel very comfortable when I explain this. For us, the biggest battle is the mind. The battle is not anything else. The battle is the mind, where minds are so, ossified, fossilized, and masculinized. We
Good
don't
point.
think differently. And I think that's the big challenge we have. And, you have done that all your life. And I am trying very hard to follow Anil in your footsteps to keep fighting
No,
and
you have
asking
done more. Let me tell you, you have done a
questions.
lot more. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Do we
Yeah.
have anything else?
No, just like there are many comments about the CEC, and just to say thank you, both of you, brilliant minds working together for India's glorious future, and hope the rivers will see clean rivers soon.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you both. So we'll meet next
And
again.
we'll bring Sunita again. We'll
Yes.
request her to
Of
come
course.
again on a couple of other issues. Okay.
Yes,
Thanks,
absolutely.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Thank you.
Sunita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank
thank
you.
you, Priyambada. Thank you,
Thank
Upendra,
you.
and everyone
Thank
who
you,
joined
Pendra.
us.